Hello there, it's me, Sari, here again, and today I'm here to show you how I made this 2-slider card, or perhaps double slider card, on top of a regular card. This is something that I made a couple of years ago, and I used the wonderful stamp there from Daisy and Dandelion. It's a bear fishing, and well, it's sort of nice, isn't it? And it's so I do like these specially folded cards because they do give such a nice touch to it all. And I've also made something for the inner piece there, and the card is actually able to, it can stand on its own really. But I must warn you, I'm a bit agitated when it comes to showing the card that I'm going to make now, because I have been struggling with it for the last 2 days. I've been working with different schemes and possibilities, but I haven't really succeeded. I'm just going to show you what I started off with. I'm working with stamps from Vilda Stamps this time, and I started off working with this wonderful guy here. He's a fisherman. He's fishing on the lake really, and I wanted to make it into some sort of a mixed media project. There is some gesso there as for texture, and I have colored him in with some Copic pens, and I have sprayed and I have stamped, and I used lots of Vilda stamps there. But I'm not going to go there today. I also try to make these as the flaps that we're going to be pulling out like so, and I did plan for a brown background. I wanted to keep it as cohesive or as much like the first one there as possible. And then I'm telling you, I did cut this frame out, no worries there, but when it came to mounting it with this one, I started having some problems. I just couldn't make it work. I cut out 3 or 4 frames and I gave up eventually. I also wanted to use the stamps from Vilda Stamps to create the frame like so. Instead of having pattern paper like that, I wanted to make something with a nautical theme, and these are also stamps from Vilda Stamps. So that was a nice idea, but I just had to give in. I just couldn't make it work, now could I? And then I tried putting on a white frame. I didn't succeed with this one either, so I felt, how on earth am I going to succeed with this? What am I going to do? And then I came to think about, I could either, let's see if I can find that piece of paper, I'm not sure. I also tried stamping the figure on the background piece like so, and I thought that I could do some paper piecing. I could put this guy on top, and you know, I've been struggling, I'm telling you. And here finally I decided that I would make it black and white as far as it goes. And the reason for me struggling so much, I think, is that I did choose to color this guy in with some orange and green and yellow and such. That could be one drawback, of course. And there's also the reason for me having shrunken these wonderful fishes from Vilda Stamps. This is the regular size, but when I shrunk it, it became this small. So I just love having the possibility of actually getting 2 charms out of 1 stamp really, or 2 alternatives for 1 stamp. And I've also stamped and cut out some fishes from a set that this fishing boy comes from. So this is what I'm going to work with, I hope. So let's see where I'll end up. You know that I'm a bit annoyed, so I don't have to stress that anymore, I suppose. And well, I did start with a black base, and I did cut this. I've tried to make some sort of a pattern for you here. The card in itself is 15 times 12 centimeters. And the flaps that come out here, they are 15 times 11.5. and the frame in itself is also 12 by 15, but the frame depth here is 222, but under here it's 3.5 centimeters. And the reason for that being 3.5 is that the stamp looking like this is just marvelous. It's a wonderful lake stamp, but since it is going like so, and I did want the possibility of actually putting the boy up a little bit, I decided on making the frame a little bit thicker down here, and all of a sudden this started looking like a Polaroid frame now, didn't it? So that's a nice idea, really. Just make the bottom piece of the frame a little bit thicker. And you know, on this one I put on the foam, double-sided foam tape pieces on the wrong side, and I just felt, oh my goodness, I mean, where I'm going to end up with this card. So, you know, I've been struggling, I'm telling you, once more. So let's see if I can make this work. I did stamp this, and I wanted to keep it straight like so, and I stamped it there. And I'm keeping these pieces of paper at the same size. I mean, I think it's more easy for me to just make things work. So this is it. I've got that one there. And I could, if I wanted to, tape this one down. There is a little bit of white showing up there, but I do think that since I'm going to put that boy there, it could work. And perhaps I could even put a fish there. So I'm not going to be that bothered about that. So either I should glue it down tightly with some double-sided tape, or I could put it on with some double-sided foam tape, as I have done here. But since I am going to do that later, I might as well just glue it on tight. And this time I'm making sure that I won't have the lines, the pencil lines on the paper that's facing the recipient. I must learn from my mistakes. I mean, you know, I haven't done any crafting for a couple of weeks now. I'm sure I'm just a little bit. I'm not sure what it's called now do I? I'm a bit rusty, out of shape. So this is it. There's a nice frame to that. And now we have to get started with the other things here. So you see, I have the background piece there, and I have a frame piece, and I have the card base, and I have something for a message or something on the inside there. All of these pieces are folded together, 12 by 15 centimeters. And this is one single, this is single. And as for these are supposedly 11.5 by 15. And of course the white piece is a little bit smaller. And I have glued these together, and now I'm going to do the double sliding bit. I'm using a piece of plastic paper that is a bit on the, well, it is, I'm not sure what it's called now. It's really slippery. That's something I could go for. I had to think about Bon Jovi before I could came to think about that word. Sometimes I have to go the strangest ways to come up with the words I'm going to say, you see. So now I'm going to put some tape here. And please make sure that the plastic paper, or the plastic bag piece here, is as wide as it is on both sides. So you don't have a piece of plastic that is wider on some parts, in some parts. For goodness sake. I haven't been speaking English for a long time now, it's evident. So now I'm going to go cut off the excess here. I don't know where my head is at. Just going to cut that slip away. So this is it, and do make sure that you don't have any glue or tape or something under here or on the black piece of paper or something, that, so it actually will have the possibility of gliding and sliding. So let's see, we have to think about the fact that one one end is going to go that way, so I need to put the tape underneath, and in order to not get too long a piece of tape here, I'm going to put the tape on the plastic, and then I have to decide on making it center it as much as I can on the plastic, because the plastic in itself can be moved a little bit. So let's see if I thought right, or if I did, yeah, actually managed to do it right. So this is the secret for this. Thanks to the tape, you can actually make it move. So let's see, now I have to turn it around, and I have to think about this one coming underneath. And I think that if I do put it there, it ought to be right. I'm repeating the same thing, putting the tape there, and now I actually have the chance of butting up the pieces of paper so I get them straight. So I'm just going to get some pressure, and then I'm going to do like this. Ta-da! Here we have it. So now all I have to do is glue it down. And since I do want it to be able to move on top of that card, I'm going to put some double-sided foam pieces of tape on both sides. It's a shame I didn't prepare for this. Well, you can't think of everything now, can you? So let's see if I can get myself working with this pretty swiftly. So I do believe that I have to put some tape on both upper and the downer part, as well as on the back side. Flipping it over. So in this case, in this way, I'm hoping I'll be able to put some more flexibility to that motion there. And of course you could vary the size of this card. In this case, if you're going to go for these foam pads like this, you have to think about giving room for these to move. I mean, that is the only thing you have to think about, really. I could of course go even thicker with the tapes, but I hope, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have too thick either. So now I'm thinking of gluing it down there first, and then I'm going to put on the top. Let's hope I make it right. So now I have to make sure that this one is butted up down here and up there, and all of a sudden it's more sturdy. So now when I'm getting the top piece here, I'm going to make sure that I'm butting that one down there. So this is it. It actually works. And well, I do believe it's a good thing to not put on even thicker with the tapes. And why I wanted to keep the background white and also make the tags white is that I wanted to give it some sort of a cohesion or lengthiness. And that is the same thing that I had on with the blue one here. This is a coordinations paper that I have sanded a little bit here and there just to give the inclination of clouds or something. And I also used the same paper here, but instead I did some stamping. And I'm not sure what kind of an ink pad I used here, because the stamps or the images are really nice and crisp, but I didn't succeed as well with this one, for example. It didn't work at all, even though I did use the VersaFine that I usually think is the best ink pad. So perhaps it has to do with both the motif and the ink pad, but in here I'm pretty happy with the result actually. So now we've come this far, so I think this gives it a nice cohesional look, and I could of course leave it as it is, couldn't I? and then have a surprise with the guy there. Perhaps if I'm picking out, I ought to have had him a little bit more in there, so he wouldn't have popped out more than that. You see, if you catch my drift there. But I'm actually able to put him there. So before I did stamp, I actually measured how deep this is, so I wouldn't get the stamped image on the outside, as I did with the other flaps. I mean, had I had this one here, you see the fishes would have been out there. So that's not what I'm looking for. So it's a good tip. I drew the line at 11.5 centimeters. So what I could do now, I could also go for some big eyelets here. And I've actually managed to break my crop-a-dile, believe it or not. I did try to punch a hole through something really hard. I think it was some sort of a metal charm or something, and it just broke. It just broke, but luckily it was the smaller bits, the 1/8 of an inch. I do have the 3/16 left. And then I have to warn you again about doing too much punching with this one through tape, sticky tape, because now it is really tough. It isn't as flexible or easy to work with as it was before. And as for now, I could try to make use of this to make the hole approximately where I want it. You see, like so. And I'm going to just put a mark there. So I'm getting some sort of an inclination there. That is where it could be. And I'm just putting it through the hole there. I'm not sure if I can show it to you. Just going to squeeze it through like so. And now I have to clean it because everything gets stuck. So I'm actually thinking of buying myself a new crop-a-dile, because I do believe it's such a good tool that I do need it. So I could go either for the big bite or perhaps the smaller one that I have now. Let's see, I'm going to go for some eyelets. And since we are in a black and white mode here, but I'm thinking of putting him there. Should I stay with the black and white? I do believe I should. And well, using the crop-a-dile is as easy as this. Once you have put, let's see, these two in the right place. For me, when I'm using it with the 3/16 there, it is 4D. But if I'm turning it around, it says B2. So it's either or. And now I'm going to put that peg in the hole. And I'm going to give it a squeeze. No sound, no mess, and it's easy on the hands, I'm telling you. So let's make another one. So instead of hammering, making a lot of noise, scaring your fellow crafters or family members, go for a crop-a-dile, I'm telling you. So much easier. So now we have it here. So let's see what kind of a string I should go for. You know, I think I could work with that one because I don't know if I can find my strings. I'm thinking of something black perhaps, or perhaps even white. I did see something white, so I could go for that. So in this case, I'm going to fold it, make it double, and I'm just going to put that through the loop, I believe. Or should I make it double? I could. I believe I could. Let's see what it will end up like. Put it through. And put it through. I'm hoping it'll stay there. You could of course go for a longer bit of string, In this case I just wanted to go with what I found quickly there in the drawer and go through both of the loops there. So there we have it. Ta-da! And then you could stamp your greeting or something there. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for the guy here. I mean, he is coming out there as well, so perhaps it's unnecessary. Although I did like the idea of actually having them in there and the lake in the background. So I might actually go there. But then I would like to get myself some fishing line there, but I haven't got it, so I have to wait, and I'm not sure if I have anything similar to that either. And then I was thinking of putting a couple of fish here, just to cheer this image up a bit. I started out stamping these fishes on a piece of sprayed paper, leftover pieces of sprayed paper that is. But I didn't like them that much. I actually went on colouring them with some Copic pens instead. And in this case I just went for them, let them be green. Although my first intention was to have used this one. So perhaps I should go for that, I'm not sure. I'm just a bit concerned about the fact that it isn't as visible. Well, if I put a white piece of paper in the background, I'm sure I could make it work even more. Let's see if I can do that. But I do believe that I have to heat up my glue gun in order to do so, because I do want that to stick to the paper. So what should I do as for the string? Because I haven't got anything see-through, you see. Well, you know, one could use, if I had some sewing thread, I might actually put a bit of sewing thread here. And when I have glued this one on a bit of white piece of paper, it will show a bit better. So that's a good idea, actually. So I think that this is what I will finish this video off with. Just look at how wonderful they turn out when you put something white behind. And if you're going to glue it down on a surface, it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to make it into a charm or a necklace piece or something, then I wouldn't suggest putting some white piece of paper underneath. But in this case, I absolutely do think it does the trick. So the question for me is to decide on, do I want to make it look like a fish, or should I go for something more fun looking? I'm thinking that this one could be nice, really. Don't you think? So that's it. I'm going to sign off right now. I do hope you got the measurements all together. The card in itself is 12 by 15 centimeters. The flaps, or the tags, are 15 and 11.5 centimeters. And the frame is 12 by 15, and then I have to cut out a piece of square there. And I have measured 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, and then 3.5, depending on what kind of an image you're going to put in the center. So I do hope you are going to give this double slider or the perhaps 2 slider card a chance. I do like it. And well, I'm going to sign off. Bye bye.